Tenda makorokoto, makorokoto, makorokoto. Tenda makorokoto, makorokoto, makorokoto. Atakapiwa. ActionAid.
In 2003, ActionAid was incorporated in Zimbabwe with a mandate to fight poverty and injustice. In a bid to consolidate and diversify both funding and activities, ActionAid merged with MS Zimbabwe in 2010, giving birth to ActionAid Zimbabwe.
I was fortunate to have actually facilitated and have been part of the merger between MS and ActionAid. MS had a very strong base in capacity building through their training center in Tanzania. ActionAid had activists, people who knew how to kind of work with communities and bring good change. Zimbabwe was able to come up with a good, strong organization that I think people recognized, that made change, and that looked at how we can create value using the resources that we both had.
The current program that we have at ActionAid Zimbabwe of social justice, economic justice, governance and human rights, we can attribute it to the strong foundation which was done 10 years ago.
The foundation set gave life to local rights work, civic participation and accountability, and women's rights work. Under the local rights work, ActionAid Zimbabwe built schools, capacitated women in livelihoods improvement programs and economic empowerment.
We were doing child programming, but as we were also looking at the child programming, the focus was mainly on the software programming, which was more to do with raising awareness in terms of child rights, but also having a component of hardware programming, where ActionAid constructed a number of schools.
ActionAid, it was very wonderful because society in large, peasant farmers, but school fees wanenge vachita apo neapo pawazoona kamari here and there, but nekuwaka kwakaitwa block iri takaona kuti society vakafara kana school fees yakatoti dzikirei because there was no need yekuti tiite source money from the already impoverished society.
Ndinotenda ActionAid nekuti yakatipa garden, mugarden imomo yakatipa mvura.
Mombe tikuya kuzonwisa ipo pano pa water point.
Imbhida yethu leyi esilayo siyathengisa, siyabhadela abantwana esikolo, lekhaya siyachela.
Zipandari sechirikadzi handina chekutapudza kana izvi ndikuona tapaka Honda Fit nemari mirati.
Ndakanga ndine ma-old blocks angu ayo andakanga ndavaka ndisati ndaitrainer, but pavakauya vandaasesa vakaonawo kuti aiwa gogo vanofanira kubatsirwa, ndakakwanisa kubatsirwa nezvekuvakisa block iro reZAGP.
Vele ngangakwazi ukuthi impahla ziphathwa njani, inkomo ziphathwa njani. Ngithe ngemva kokufundiswa kwami yefo sengifundiswa imanagement, ngaqalisa ukufuya kutsha ngokuthi sengilesikolo. Khathesi sengilenkomo ezingu-15 ngemva kokufundiswa kwami yefo. Ngolwazi engaluthola kuyefo sengile-15 ezami inkomo.
Ndakaona garden ine chibatsiro chikuru mukati meupenyu hwangu, saka tisingasiyani mhai vachiuya nezvavo tichiendesa mumba. Ini ndichiendawo nezvanguwo musi unenge ndiri pajuti rangu, neendawo nezvanguwo mhai vachitambirawo tichingobika tichingofara tichironga tiri pamwe chete.
Mombe takaitenga iri 1, tatenga iri 1 ndipo yakachibereka vana vayo vairi kuburikidza nemukando weActionAid. Saka isu tinoda kutenda ActionAid nezvayakadzidzisa nekuti takanga tiri madzimai akanga asingazivi kuti kunoitwa mukando. Saka kuburikidza nemukando iwoyo taane zvinhu zvedu izvi, mbudzi, mombe nehuku. Izvozvi takatosimuka takura, tanesako yedu, taatoriwo nekabhengi kedu kadiki.
Madzimai anga akarara asingambozoti kune chinonzi mukando. Kuburikidza neActionAid takaita zvakanaka.
We are seeing the a just world, contribution to a just world through ActionAid's work.
Ndinotodzidzisa vanhu kuti tofamba sei, nyangwe mugroup community ndinotodzidzisa vanhu, uye tichidzidziswa kuderedza mhirizhonga mumhuri dzedu, mudzimba dzedu. Zvinototangira pakudzidza kushanda. Kwanga waziva kushanda waderedza mhirizhonga mumba mako, wachisati baba ndipewo mari esauti, baba ndipewo mari yechigai, wakungoenda gore rapera makugona mari wakutokwanisa kutenga hembe yekrismasi yemwana kana yababa uchitova chitambireyo saka zvinowedzera mufaro mudzimba dzedu pane pasina chibongozozo pamhuri yedu.
ActionAid Zimbabwe has pioneered civic participation work that has birthed vibrant and engaged communities.
We've worked very closely with communities that are in mineral-rich regions of Zimbabwe. Our work there is to work with communities, especially women, in ensuring that they know their rights when it comes to mineral extraction. They know the worth of the minerals that are being extracted from those areas, and they are able to hold the government and the corporates accountable.
Ndinoda kupa kutenda kukuru kune Zimbabwe Environmental Association ZELA neActionAid nekutibatsiridza capacity building. Vakakwanisa kuti capacitator kusvikira pakuti taakukwanisa kuengage stakeholders.
ActionAid is not only capacitating communities, but engaging all stakeholders in the country, and in so doing, undertook capacity building, training parliamentarians and journalists on the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance.
We also ensured that we build the capacity of the duty bearers, which are the local government, even the national government.
They've also helped us, even us as a local authority, to come up with their own strategic plan. They actually financed us to do the strategic plan. There are 5 years that we are implementing now. It was the funding that we received from ActionAid to do that.
As part of capacity building, ActionAid Zimbabwe has been working with youths on issues around climate change, advocacy and economic empowerment.
Takaona kuti zvakatikoshera kuunzwira kwatakaitwa garden munharaunda. Hatichakwanisi kuita musikanzwa kana kutsvaga mari nedzimwe nzira, asi takwanisa kungoshanda zvemugarden tichitengesa tichionawo mari kana even mukando takwanisa kutoita nemari inobva mugarden.
The Activista Global Movement is the primary vehicle that ActionAid Zimbabwe uses to engage the youths, and the Zimbabwe chapter is one of the strongest networks. Using the human rights-based approach, ActionAid Zimbabwe has been working with women, capacitating them on their rights and advocacy issues.
First Zimbabwe, with support from ActionAid, built capacity of women in advocacy and many other issues.
Nyaya yedistance yaikosta bosi mwana kana achifamba 18 kilometers every day. Asina lunch yakakwana, ari kufamba netsoka. Panozosvika pakuita vanoti tiri kubatsira. Azooneka mukomana vazova baba wanhingi, but zvotodisturba magoza ake. Saka ndo zvakazoiswa kuti svike pakuti tazodzidza kuti ngatiitei advocacy tikumbire sekondari kuno.
Kati madzimai ari mupawadi. Paimbawadhi paipa inini sezvakaita seinini ndanda kutofunga kuti mbobvunza kuita kanzeri kuti ndimbomirirawo wadhi ndimboona kuti zviri kufamba sei panyaya dzekutungamira vanhu nekuti hatichaatyi.
Ini sagender champion ndatokutoziva zvakawanda zvokuti ndinokwanisa kuwana kwekuturira nekwekuchemera zvichemo zvedu zvichinzikwa semadzimai taimbotarisirwawo pasi, but izvezvi takutoona kutoti kuburukidza nekudzidza kwatiri kuita zvakawanda takutambirirwawo nehurumende ichitambirirwawo nekansel pane zvese zvatichishuwira.
ActionAid Zimbabwe has a primary focus on rural communities, but has over the years undertaken urban programming to capacitate at-risk urban women and girls.
In Chitungwiza, we came with a project of fighting against violence in public spaces.
It was critical to implement the Safe Cities in Chitungwiza, as research had shown that there were multiple violence against women and girls indicators in the area. The community advocacy initiatives carried out in Chitungwiza resulted in inclusive, safe spaces, and street lights that had been non-functional for several years were rehabilitated, and through reflection action circles, women and girls in Chitungwiza continue to be active participants in urban development and governance. Safe Cities work also contributed to the global Women and City reports, which fed into the evidence building for SDG 5 and SDG 11.
As part of its humanitarian work, ActionAid Zimbabwe responded to Cyclone Idai that struck the country in 2019.
Our consignment consisted mainly of items that women and girls needed. These included dignity kits, because not so many people would remember that in times like these, women and girls who are hardest hit still need to have their dignity preserved.
ActionAid Zimbabwe has assisted communities build back better, not only from the effects of Cyclone Idai. ActionAid Zimbabwe has responded to climate events like Cyclone Freddy, Elin, and the Tokwe-Mukosi Dam disaster. ActionAid has responded by building back school blocks, toilets, teachers' housing, and providing water solutions for communities at risk. ActionAid Zimbabwe's work and wide reach has been made possible over the years by its rich portfolio of partners.
ActionAid did build a facility from its formation.
It assisted us a lot, and that's why we were just an advocacy organization ever since 2002. But of course, now we have, we have engaged the traveling gears. We are now a publishing organization.
Our major advocacy issue was around the teaching of the Tonga language in schools. Hence, we received a lot of capacity building from ActionAid. Today, Tonga is being taught from primary to university level. All these efforts were achieved because of the partnership that we had with ActionAid.
ActionAid in Zimbabwe has also grown and developed and offered opportunity to so many experts out there.
I'm enjoying working with ActionAid.
The relationship that had finally developed between First Zimbabwe and ActionAid has been one of familyhood.
Kama wedu ne ActionAid ukama hwakaita samai nemwana, kuti mwana hakangamwi mai, mai hawakangamwi mwana wavo. Nekuti mukatarisa patari nhasi nezvanga zviri kumashure, handifungi kuti ungakangamwa.
The 20th anniversary is a rallying call to all of us to continue fighting to end poverty, because it's an injustice and it's a human rights violation.
Perhaps those that set up ActionAid thought we would be in Zimbabwe for 5 years, but here we are, celebrating 20 years of working with communities, celebrating 20 years of building resilience, celebrating 20 years of pushing for accountability, celebrating 20 years of searching for social justice.
The search for social justice is indeed an ever-going process. But even as the search continues, it is time to celebrate ActionAid Zimbabwe's pioneering work in search of social justice.